It's just before 8 p.m. on August the 6th, 2021. 8 runners are preparing to take part in the race of their lives, the final of the women's 400 meters. In less than 50 seconds, a new Olympic champion will be crowned. It's an event that's grown into a hallmark race of the sport, graced by the likes of Marie-Josée Pérec and Cathy Freeman in Olympic Games of the past. They've waited an extra summer for this moment, and with millions tuning in to watch this final, the immense pressure is palpable. Bahamian Shaunae Miller-Uibo is the reigning Olympic champion, having famously dived at the line to claim gold at Rio 5 years earlier. Dominican Marilady Paulino and Jamaica's Stephanie Ann McPherson were the fastest through the semi-final heats. They were looking to challenge for the podium, if not the title outright. On the outside lane is a veteran 35-year-old runner who's no stranger to the Olympic stage. Competing in her 5th Olympic Games, America's Allyson Felix has well established herself as one of the greatest sprinters in athletics history, but many have counted out the 9-time Olympic medalist from even finishing on the podium here. The podium finish would give the Californian a 10th Olympic medal, tying with the great Carl Lewis as America's most decorated Olympian on the track. But it would mean so much more than that. It's a momentous achievement for Felix. She's now a mother and a vocal advocate for gender equality off the track, an honor that transcends every other title she's won previously. But to truly understand that impact, we need to go back. As soon as Allyson Felix stepped on a track for the first time, it was clear that she had the potential to compete at the highest level. Born in Los Angeles in 1985, Felix first tried out for her high school track team in the 9th grade. By 2003, she'd earned herself a spot on the US national team and competed at the 2003 World Championships in Paris. The following summer, Felix made her Olympic debut in Athens. Aged just 18, she progressed to the final of the 200 meters, where she found herself in lane 3 next to Jamaica's Veronica Campbell-Brown. Campbell-Brown was the fastest qualifier, clocking in 22.13 seconds to Felix's 22.36. But Felix was on her inside, and if she could get a good enough start, she could catch the Jamaican on the turn and carry her momentum to Olympic glory. For most athletes, making an Olympic final is an achievement enough in and of itself, but the teenage phenom wasn't going to let her age or level of experience get in the way of a shot at history. Campbell-Brown stormed out to a ferocious start, but Felix stayed in the hunt. As they entered the straight, Campbell-Brown and Felix broke away from the rest of the pack. Through the last 100 meters, Campbell-Brown maintained her lead with Felix close behind. A personal best of 22.5 seconds for Campbell-Brown gave the Jamaican her maiden Olympic title, while Felix set a new world junior record with a blistering time of 22.18 seconds. Happy to step on the Olympic podium for the first time, you could tell that Felix yearned for more. She put the athletics world on notice, not just of her explosive speed, but her unyielding competitive spirit. She'd be back, there was no question about it. By Beijing 2008, Felix had become a household name in the world of athletics. She'd become the youngest world champion in history at the 2005 World Championships in Helsinki, winning the 200 meters in 22.16 seconds. Before defending the same title and adding golds in the 4x100 and 4x400 meters relays at Osaka 2007. Heading into the 200-meter final, it was Campbell-Brown and Felix who led the way again, winning their semi-finals respectively. Only this time in the final, the roles were reversed, with Campbell-Brown running on the inside of Felix in lane 4. Felix needed to fend her off in the opening stages of the race if she was going to win. Light rain began to fall on the Bird's Nest Stadium as the two readied themselves for another clash of titans. At the start, Campbell Brown surged out once more with a strong lead, while Felix struggled to break away from the pack, dipping as far back as 5th when the race entered the home stretch. There was no stopping Campbell Brown. A personal best of 21.74 seconds guaranteed her repeat as Olympic champion. But Felix never gave up, coming back in the latter stages of the race to claim a second consecutive silver with a season's best of 21.93 seconds. Disappointed, Felix was still grateful for the experience and took the time to congratulate her competitor on her triumph. Luckily for her, there was still one more chance for Olympic glory in Beijing. Felix ran the second leg in the women's 4x400 meter relay, clocking a blazing split of 48.55 seconds to give Team USA the lead in the final. But it was Sanya Richards-Ross who got to play anchor runner heroics, coming back in the dying meters of the relay and raising her fists in the air as she gave USA the gold and Felix a first Olympic title. "22 years old and an Olympic champion. For most athletes, that would be more than enough success for a career. Not for Allyson Felix, not even close. Felix came back the following summer and won a third straight 200-meter world title in Berlin, beating Veronica Campbell-Brown in the same stadium Jesse Owens became an Olympic champion almost a century before. But it was that coveted individual Olympic title that Felix yearned for. In a press conference, she jokingly said that she would trade her 3 world titles for Campbell-Brown's Olympic title. At the 2012 USA Olympic Trials, Felix earned individual spots in the 100 and 200 meters, in addition to places on both the 4x100 and 4x400 meter relays. At London, Felix set a personal best of 10.89 seconds in the 100-meter final, but would have to settle for 5th place as Jamaica's Shelly-Ann Fraser took gold in the event. In the 200 meters, Felix qualified comfortably for the final, setting the stage for another USA-Jamaica showdown. Felix and compatriot Carmelita Jeter, along with Jamaica's Campbell Brown and Fraser Price, were all in the running for the title. It was Jeter on the outside in lane 9 that took the lead first before Felix came storming back in lane 7. As the runners rounded the curve, the 2 Jamaicans in lanes 5 and 4 began gaining on Felix. But this time it was Felix who broke away in the final meters. In 21.88 seconds, Felix's unrelenting determination had finally paid off. She was Olympic champion in the 200 meters after having twice settled for silver at Athens and Beijing. Felix took a moment to herself before raising her hands in the air, greeting the 80,000 fans packed into the London Olympic Stadium, cheering her on. Her goal was accomplished, but there was still plenty of work to do. Felix ran the second leg of the 4x100 meter relay, and by the time she handed the baton off to Bianca Knight, it was clear that the Americans were going to win, and all eyes turned to the clock. Carmelita Jeter crossed the finish line and clocked the USA quartet at 40.82 seconds, smashing the 26-year-old previous mark of 41.37 seconds set by the German Democratic Republic. It was a near-perfect run, and as if that wasn't enough, Felix would add a 47.8-second split in the women's 4x400 meter relay the following day to cap a legendary Olympic performance. In the run-up to the Rio 2016 Olympics, Allyson Felix set out to accomplish even more. She added the 400 meters to her regular competition schedule and became world champion in the event in 2015. But an injury in the 2016 season caught up with her at the 2016 US Olympic trials, where Felix narrowly missed out on qualifying for the 200 meters, but redeemed herself by winning the 400 meters with a world-leading time of 49.68 seconds. While the dream of a 200 and 400 meter double wouldn't come to be, Felix had plenty on her plate with the 400 meters and relay duties on both the 4x100 and 4x400 meter races. She was fastest through the semi-finals with a time of 49.67. Felix looked set to capture a second individual Olympic title. Starting in lane 4, Felix had Jamaica's Shericka Jackson starting ahead, giving her a good pace right from the start.
Allyson Felix will have Shericka Jackson in her sights.
But it was Shawnee Miller-Uibo who jumped out to a bold lead from lane 7 and kept that advantage through the second turn.
On the inside, it's a bold bid for glory from the Bahamian. Has she gone too early? Has she got something there?
Felix did everything right, keeping her composure and pace to set up a showdown in the final straight. It was close. Felix was catching up with every stride, and as the two lunged forward for the line, it wasn't immediately clear who'd taken the victory.
Felix thinks she's done it, and Shawnee Miller has collapsed across the line.
Miller-Uibo had quite literally dived to the line, collapsing at the finish as the news poured into the stadium that she'd claimed Olympic glory by less than a tenth of a second. As agonizing as another close second-place finish might have been, it was short-lived. Felix took part in the women's 4x100 meter relay to gold, with Tori Bowie edging out Jamaica's Shelly-Ann Fraser-Pryce in the final.
Fraser-Pryce is trying, but it's a bold girl who have the bragging rights again. Fraser-Pryce has to settle for silver this time, and it's
All before closing out the competition with another title in the 4x400 meter relay, running the anchor leg in a gutsy performance holding off a surging Jamaican squad. After becoming the most decorated athlete in world athletics history after the 27 championships in London, Felix ran a reduced schedule in 2018. The goal of the Olympic Games Tokyo 2020 was still clear, but Felix was set for another life milestone: motherhood. During a routine checkup, it was discovered that she had developed preeclampsia, a pregnancy condition that disproportionately affects black women. What is meant to be one of life's greatest miracles was quickly turning into one of the hardest challenges Felix would ever face. She delivered her daughter Cameron 2 months early via an emergency C-section towards the end of 2018. Cameron would spend the first weeks of her life in intensive care, but thankfully she inherited that same fighting spirit from her mother and was able to pull through. Felix's journey with pregnancy ushered in a new phase in her career as well as her life. Having also hidden her pregnancy from the public eye due to the fear of losing out on sponsorships, Felix stepped forward to advocate for better measures in place for professional athletes who become pregnant, so that they don't have to worry about losing out on their career. Yet, even as Felix stepped into new roles as an advocate and even as an entrepreneur, she was still the same determined athlete that the world had come to know over the years. Even the onset of the COVID-19 pandemic couldn't push Felix to relent. She trained in empty fields and beaches as the world sheltered. There was no stopping her. Felix was going to compete at the Tokyo Olympics as a mother, and she was going to inspire her daughter. That's what brings us back here, the final of the women's 400 meters in Tokyo. It doesn't matter that the stadium is devoid of its usual raucous crowd, or that pundits from around the world had already counted Felix out of medal contention. It doesn't matter that she's 35 years old or on the outside lane 9. She's Allyson Felix. Shaunae Miller-Uibo would win the event, this time by a comfortable margin, and Dominican Marilady Paulino would capture the silver medal. And finishing with the bronze and a new Masters World Record was Allyson Felix. A commanding win in the women's 4x400 meter relay would give Felix her 11th Olympic medal, surpassing the mark set by Carl Lewis and making her the most decorated track athlete in American history.
My daughter gave me the courage. I thought about the world that she's going to grow up in, and it was unacceptable. And so for her, for all the other daughters, I just wanted to do my part and hopefully do right by them.
To become an Olympian is a monumental feat. To be a 5-time Olympian and to medal at each of those 5 Olympics is simply incredible. To do all of that with unyielding determination while becoming a vocal advocate for gender rights off the track, that's Allyson Felix.
I think the highlight of my Olympic journey was my last games in Tokyo, being able to compete there as a mother for the first time. And just after a really long career, it was a special moment to be able to end at that time.